Does your trusting and open nature make it hard for you to tell when people are lying? Do you think Reddit stories are entertaining, but find it frustrating when people just take them at face value? Do you like low-stakes analysis and commentary? Do you enjoy videos that you can put on in the background while you do other stuff? Do you love a list? Well, hi. My name's Caroline, and today's video is for you. Welcome to 10 allegedly fake Reddit posts. For this video, I risked irreversible pollution of my mind and spirit to wade through the sewer that is Reddit.com. Luckily, I found a few interesting turds to present to you today. I've gathered 10 of the most popular posts from this year from the subreddit called AITAH, which stands for Am I the Asshole? It is just one of the numerous Am I the Asshole subreddits, but this subreddit allows for an even broader range of stories than the original Am I the Asshole subreddit. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The title of our first story is this: Am I the a-hole for ditching my girlfriend at a restaurant, which contributed to her failing her probationary period at work? I, 27 male, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, Cindy, 26 female, since university. Last September, Cindy's company went under. She took this hard because she loved her workplace, loved her colleagues, and loved her boss. Unfortunately, they just weren't making that much money, so the plug was pulled. When Cindy came home and delivered the news to me, I asked if she wanted me to introduce her to my boss. Having the same major, we work in the same field, and my company is almost always hiring. Cindy said yes, and I texted my boss on the spot. After delivering her CV to him and a short interview process, she was hired in a 3-month probationary position. I was really excited to be working with Cindy. We could save money on gas by carpooling, spend more time together, and have lunch together. Before we move on to the meat of the story, I just want to point out how much unnecessary detail is in the introduction alone. A hallmark of fake Reddit stories is a lot of unnecessary detail. If you were legitimately coming to Reddit.com because you had a scenario where you thought you might be the asshole, you would give only the information one would need to decide whether or not you're the asshole. But if you're participating in a creative writing exercise, you give a lot of extra details to really fill out the story. The only information that we needed from that introduction was, last September, my girlfriend's company went under and she lost her job, but I was able to get her a probationary position at my company. But we get so many extra details like she took this hard because she loved her workplace, loved her colleagues, and loved her boss. As if she needs a particular reason to not enjoy losing her job. We learn that they had the same major, which is why there are relevant positions available at OP Original Poster's office. We learned that he was so excited to work with Cindy, specifically because of saving money on gas for carpool, spending time with her, and lunches together. I do think we could clump spending time with her and lunches into one thing, but I digress. Unfortunately, things did not pan out. To be frank, Cindy was a horrible employee. She showed up to the office 15 to 20 minutes late virtually every day. I had to give up on carpooling with her because I have a morning meeting and I need to get to work 15 minutes early every day. Cindy's favorite activity at work was opening up a blank Google Doc and looking at her phone under her desk. The hour we get for lunch was often an hour and a half for Cindy, and she really accomplished nothing in her time there. This continued for 3 months. Last Monday was a rare occasion where Cindy was actually ready on time to go to work together. Perhaps this was because of my gentle urging for her to get her shit together, or perhaps it was because her probationary period was ending soon, but we were able to carpool. We went out to lunch together and Cindy ate way too slowly. I was looking at the clock and encouraging her to get a move on, but at the end of the meal, right when we had to leave to make it back on time, Cindy decided she wanted another refill of her soda. I told her time was up, but she was adamant that she absolutely needed another refill. To make matters worse, the restaurant was crowded, and we couldn't flag down a server. I put the cash for the meal and a tip on the table, and I told Cindy that I was leaving, with or without her. Cindy played chicken with me here, thinking that if she refused to move, I'd have no choice but to wait. But I walked to my car and drove back. Cindy showed up 20 minutes later, visually flustered. The restaurant was a 10-minute walk away, so I'm pretty sure she did end up getting her refill. She has been furious with me since. Last Friday, Cindy got her final judgment for her probationary period. Due to poor punctuality and general lack of direction, my company decided not to hire her for a full-time position. Cindy blames me. She says I made her late and that I ruined everything. Last night, she asked how was she supposed to pay her part of the rent without a job? And I responded, yes, that's a good question. How will you be paying? This threw oil on the proverbial fire, and now she doesn't even want to fight about it anymore. Was I the asshole for what I did here? First, allow me to go over a few of the details in this original story that I find less than believable, and then I'll read the update for you, which confirmed for me, in my mind, that this story is 100% fake. So OP has been dating Cindy since university, and they are now 27 and 26 years old, but he was apparently blindsided by her habit of being perpetually late and not being a particularly hard worker, where I do think those things would have come up either in dates and other things where one should be on time, or he would have noticed that she wasn't a particularly hard worker at university. She also was not fired from her previous job. The company went under, and that's why she lost it. So she doesn't have a history of not being able to keep jobs because of her poor behavior. Then we have the detail of them going to a restaurant that's 10 minutes away, but he drove. And why did he drive? So that he could abandon her at the restaurant, dramatically, of course. He knows that she has this horrible habit of taking these hour-and-a-half long lunches when she's only entitled to take an hour-long lunch, and yet he still goes to lunch with her on this final symbolic day. And then, of course, when she gets let go, it's because of her long history of being a bad employee. But he still is wondering, is he the asshole for being a good employee? And actually, I do think that you're kind of an asshole if you leave your girlfriend because she wants a refill on soda because you're such a brown noser that you can't wait to get back on company campus. But regardless, I know that this person, as described, would never think that he was an asshole for these actions. So the question feels disingenuous. But let's read the update, and then you'll really understand. Update: am I the a-hole for ditching my girlfriend at a restaurant which contributed to her failing her probationary period at work? Last week, I, 27 male, talked about how my girlfriend, Cindy, 26 female, blew her probationary period for the job I got her completely. Last week, she had to interview for that job, but this week, he got it for her completely. She was chronically late, unproductive, and she took 90-minute marathon lunch breaks. She claims that I sabotaged her because instead of being late when getting back to work, I left her at a restaurant when she wanted another refill of her soda. Anyway, Cindy decided that she was going to take some time off of work for her mental health. Knowing that she had absolutely no savings, I asked how she was going to contribute to rent, groceries, and utilities, but Cindy said that wasn't my concern. I decided to be upfront and flat out tell her not to expect me to financially support her. She responded by calling me a low provider, whatever that means. It's also not right because I'm more of a no provider. I'm not into arrangements where I financially support a woman for companionship. At this point, I knew that our relationship was basically over, but I decided that I'd stay in the apartment we rent for the next 2 months, as we have paid our rent in full until the end of May, and then leave. Then Cindy began taking steps to actively sabotage me at work. For example, last Friday, when I was getting ready for work, I couldn't find my shoes. After letting me look for them for 15 minutes, Cindy finally said that she washed them. I'm fairly sure Cindy has never washed anything other than a plate or her own laundry, but on Friday morning she abruptly decided to wash my shoes. Right. They were soaking wet. I had to wear an old pair of Crocs that were 2 sizes too small to the office that day. On my way home, I bought new shoes and kept them in my car. Then Cindy began spamming me with texts during a meeting on Saturday, one I had told her I was having, saying there was a guy banging on our door. She insisted I needed to come home right away. I checked our Ring camera and saw nothing. When I texted her back saying so, she said it must have been the neighbor or something. It's worth mentioning here that I can see the neighbor's door on the camera too, and nobody was banging on it either. I got the picture of what was going on and realizing the next escalation would be having my tires slashed or brakes cut. After the work day, I went back to our apartment, gathered my belongings, and left. Cindy naturally went off the rails, but I got out safely. Now, I'm at my buddy's house for a few days until I can find a new living situation. Thank you all for the advice you gave me. I'm sure this can act as a cautionary tale in various ways. Unfortunately, I'm kind of out of it after all this drama, so I'll leave that part up to you. Did you happen to notice any of the oh-so-subtle signs that this is misogynistic fan fiction? There are so many of them, so let's go through them. First, we have that Cindy was going to take off time for her mental health. First of all, she's already unemployed, so she doesn't need to take off any time from work. Second of all, the mental health thing. Women and their mental health. They are not reliable employees because they're constantly being the psycho women that they are. Then she has no savings, so he asks how she's going to contribute, but they had already paid their rent in full for 2 months. How's a girl with no savings paying rent 2 months ahead of time? And why is a girl with no savings paying rent 2 months ahead of time? And then she calls him a low provider, a term that only incels use. And he's like, she called me a low provider, whatever that is, but I'm actually a no provider because I do not engage in relationships where I'm exchanging money for companionship, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you have no idea what this low provider terminology is, but you're ready to whip out no provider? This was not his girlfriend before this job. Right? He loved his girlfriend previously. They had been together since university. He was so confident that she was a good person that he got her a job at this company that he loves so much that he wants to lick the butthole of. If Cindy was the type to call somebody a low provider, wouldn't that have happened by now? Wouldn't she have taken that opportunity after her last job ended to say, no, actually, I don't want a job at your office because I want to be a leech on you. That's my goal as your girlfriend. Just such a huge, dramatic shift in personality that he's not questioning at all. If this was his real girlfriend, wouldn't he be like, wow, I don't know where this is all coming from. She used to be so sweet and nice. But no, he hates women, so he doesn't even have to write too much in about how she used to be so sweet and nice. It's just like, oh, yes, of course. Of course she was this way. As soon as she started not doing her hardest work at the office and taking an hour-and-a-half long lunches, I knew this woman's a psychopath. And then she starts sabotaging him. And we get this lovely detail that she claims to have washed his shoes. But this woman hasn't washed anything other than a dish or her own laundry in her life because she is not what a woman should be. She doesn't even do those domestic tasks that would add value to their relationship. He also has an old pair of Crocs that's 2 sizes too small. Sir, you're 27. Your feet stopped growing a long time ago. Why do you own Crocs that are 2 sizes too small? Then she lies about being attacked by a man. She claims that there's some guy banging on the door trying to get in, but of course he has the proof, the video evidence from the Ring camera that there was no guy, and she didn't consider this stupid woman that she is, that he might be able to prove her story wrong. And then of course he knew, this is not going to end well. The next step is obviously slashing my tires or cutting my brakes. So he got out safely. Don't worry, folks, he got out safely. And now he's at his buddy's house waiting to find a new living situation. And then we have the line that really ties a bow on it. I'm sure this can act as a cautionary tale in various ways. What ways? Don't trust your girlfriend. Don't try to get your girlfriend employment. Women may lie to you for 7 years about who they are, but when you get them a job at your office, they'll show their true colors. It's so ridiculous and so stupid and so fake. And even if it wasn't fake, which it is 100% fake, it would still be ridiculous. The idea that you would lose all love for your girlfriend because she wasn't an ideal employee is ridiculous. The original story has 17,000 upvotes and a Heart Award, and the update, that vile, nasty update, has 19,000 upvotes. I just noticed the rules for this subreddit. The first rule of the subreddit is this: fake post versus hypothetical post. This sub allows hypothetical posts. To be hypothetical, the post cannot copy another post. A post cannot create a situation that is not possible. Fake posts that have no point or are clearly creative writing are not allowed. What? What? What does this mean? What does that mean? What is a hypothetical post? Like, you could write basically any type of post, and as long as there's a point in your mind to the story, then it's fair game. It doesn't have to be real. What does this mean? How do the fine moderators of this subreddit discern between a fake post that has no point and is clearly creative writing and one of these hypothetical posts? What does this mean? The description of the subreddit says, this is a community like Am I the Asshole, except unlike that subreddit, here you can post interpersonal conflicts, anything that's Am I the Asshole but is not allowed there, even posting about Scar from The Lion King and trying to convince Redditors that he was not the asshole. So is that what they mean by hypothetical posts? Just like clearly hypothetical posts involving fictional characters? Because that was left up to interpretation. They say as long as the post is possible and doesn't seem fake or like creative writing, it's allowed. But who is judging what seems fake and like creative writing? Who is judging what's possible? Because the story I just read seems pretty impossible to me. But the people who moderate this subreddit have a different worldview and are willing to believe things that maybe I'm not willing to believe. That is messy. That's some messy rules. Regardless of the rules and the many interpretations one can have of those rules, people are treating these posts like they're real. They are taking them seriously as if these scenarios happened. They are offering their support and guidance to these people. So, let's move on. Am I the a-hole for leaving my own birthday dinner because my girlfriend turned it into a proposal for herself. I, 28 male, had my birthday dinner last weekend, and my girlfriend, Sarah, 27 female, offered to plan it. I was excited because I usually keep things low-key, but she said she wanted to make it special. She booked a nice restaurant and invited close friends and family. Everything was going great until it was time for dessert. The waiter brought out a cake, but instead of my name, it said, "Will you marry me, Sarah?" I was completely blindsided. Sarah got all teary-eyed, turned to me and said, "Well, this is the best surprise ever, right?" Everyone around us started clapping and her friends were filming. I just sat there stunned. She took my silence as hesitation and started going on about how she knew I wasn't big on grand gestures, but she couldn't wait anymore, so she took matters into her own hands. At that moment, I stood up and said, "This is my birthday. If you wanted a proposal, you should have talked to me about it first." Then I grabbed my stuff and walked out. Sarah was mortified, and her friends blew up my phone, calling me an asshole for embarrassing her and ruining the night. She even said I humiliated her when she was just trying to do something romantic. Now, my family is split. Some say I should have gone along with it for the night, while others think she crossed a major boundary. So, am I the asshole for leaving my own birthday dinner because my girlfriend hijacked it for a proposal? I find this post's premise to be difficult to believe to begin with. We're supposed to believe that there's this woman that is so obsessed with her boyfriend proposing to her that she's willing to go out on this huge limb and get a cake that says, "Will you marry me, Sarah?" on it. How embarrassing for Sarah to order her own "Will you marry me, Sarah" cake. This is a huge risk on her part. But also, every woman that I've ever known that really cares about a proposal wants the man to be on one knee and cares that there's a ring present at that proposal. This woman who's just as satisfied with bombarding her boyfriend and forcing a non-proposal where the cake just says it for him, it's hard to believe that she exists in the first place. If this story were real, it would be a cut and dry case of not the asshole, right? You're never the asshole for not wanting to do something that someone is trying to force you to do. And you're never the asshole if you're the birthday boy. So the reaction, allegedly, of the people in his life is what makes this post so unbelievable to me. First of all, we've got her friends blew up my phone. I find it unlikely that all of her friends have his number, but regardless, that always happens in these stories. Somebody always blew up their phone. Okay, you're getting a bunch of texts from the friends saying that you're an asshole for embarrassing her and ruining the night. Why do you care, right? These are your girlfriend's psycho friends. I don't believe they exist, but, why would that make you think you're the asshole? Where it really is solidified for me that this is fake is, now my family is split. Some say I should have just gone along with it for the night, while others think she crossed a major boundary. It's always some entity that's split. My friends are split. My family is split. My coworkers are split. Which family? Who specifically? Who specifically believes that you should have just gone along with a proposal that you did not want to go along with, and then what? Deal with it the next day where you have to unpropose? Who thought that? Who in your family thought that? It's never specific people. It's just, yes, opinions are split. I've already consulted my family, and opinions are split. Moving on to our third post. Am I the a-hole for just refusing to cook for my wife at this point? I am 39 and male. My wife, Jennifer, is 37. We have been married for 8 years and we have 2 children. I work full-time and Jennifer is a stay-at-home mom. She's a wonderful mother to our children, but one thing that she does not like to do is cook. This works out just fine for me as I generally get off work by 4:30 and I happen to be a phenomenal cook. My father was a chef and I've been cooking since I was 10 years old. I also worked as a line cook for several years. Virtually everyone loves my cooking. When we have company, it gets rave reviews. Our children always ask for seconds. I put a lot into it, and I take pride in my cooking skills. The only person who doesn't like it is Jennifer. She complains endlessly. Too salty, too much pepper, this is undercooked. She's also backseat cooks a lot, where I'll be in the kitchen making something and she won't shut up about what I should be doing differently. The worst part, though, is that she'll frequently insult my cooking and then go get garbage like a Hot Pocket or a frozen dinner from the freezer. Last Wednesday, I made Salisbury steak with mushroom gravy, cream cheese, mashed potatoes, and roasted asparagus. When I put Jennifer's plate in front of her, she made a disgusted face. She poked at her Salisbury steak for a few seconds and took the teeniest bite imaginable. She then made an exaggerated retching sound, dramatically threw her fork on the plate, and went to heat up a microwave burrito. I just snapped. I didn't say anything at the time because our children were there, but I was completely done. The next day, I made teriyaki bowls with broccoli. Jennifer sat at the table waiting for hers, and I informed her that I was done cooking for her. When she asked why, I told her it's a waste of food and that she should just go have a Hot Pocket. Jennifer is furious that I won't cook for her, and she says that instead of giving up, I should try a bit harder. I think she should just subsist on whatever microwavable slop she likes and stop complaining. Did I escalate too much here? Edit. Thank you for the comments. Unfortunately, people are sending me harassment through private messages, and many of these people come from the same community that has cross-posted this multiple times. I'm going to abandon this Reddit account, although in the unlikely scenario that I post an update, I may use it again. I'm just exhausted from reading comments about how I'm supposedly a terrible father for not making the right food for my children and how my wife must be right about my cooking. I am no longer reading responses and DMs. Before we get into the update, because of course there's a huge long update, let's go over this original post. So, we've got this stay-at-home mom who doesn't cook because she's not good, right? If she were a good stay-at-home mom, she would cook because that's within her responsibilities as a stay-at-home mom, according to the type of people that make these posts. But we get all these extra details about how he gets off at 4:30, so actually he can cook for the family, and his father was a chef, and he's been cooking since he was 10, and he was also a line cook. Okay, he's great. Everybody loves his cooking. Everybody loves his cooking. His children love his cooking. They ask for seconds. Everybody. Except for this petty wench of a woman who, when she sees the food that he puts on her plate and provides for her, literally brings to her as she's sitting at the table like a waiter, gags at it, smells it, gags at it, throws her fork onto the plate, and rushes to get a Hot Pocket. If this story were true, and this man truly made good food, who on earth is going to want a Hot Pocket? Hot Pocket? Hot Pocket? Really? She ran and grabbed a Hot Pocket. She grabbed hot garbage from the freezer because her taste buds are psycho, like the psycho woman she is. And then this woman who threw a massive tantrum when her husband cooked for her is also furious that he wants to stop and tells him that he should just try harder instead of giving up. But what would trying harder even mean to the woman who makes Hot Pockets? Maybe he could actually consult her about what she wants to eat if she were a real woman in a real scenario, but she's not. But maybe you don't think there's enough evidence in that original post to prove that it's fake, and that's fine, because there's plenty of evidence in this update. Update? Am I the a-hole for just refusing to cook for my wife at this point? About a month ago, I posted here about something that happened over dinner one night. My wife, Jennifer, literally retched at my cooking, despite taking the tiniest bite imaginable. After that, I refused to cook for her, which made her very angry. It was this bizarre disconnect between her thinking my food was trash, not fit for a compost bin, but her demanding that I continue making it for her anyway. I was hesitant to update because for some reason, beyond my understanding, I received about a dozen hate-filled direct messages after my last post. They were all being sent from users of a parody community of this. I have no idea what I did to make so many people upset, but a lot of people here have asked me for an update, so I figured I'd give one. Anyway, the last month has been really eye-opening for me. I had long ago noticed that Jennifer was highly critical of my cooking, but over time, I've come to realize that she's really critical of just about everything that I do. For example, 2 weeks ago, I was walking outside with her. I'm pigeon-toed and have been since I was a baby. Although it's a lot better now, Jennifer asked why I was walking with my toes slightly pointed in, and when I explained that I'm pigeon-toed, she responded in an exasperated tone. Why don't you just try walking with your feet straight? Yes, thank you. My literal bone issue was just magically cured by your advice. I never realized that the problem to something I have suffered from nearly 40 years was staring me right in the face. At least now if I know I ever get cancer, I can just get rid of it by deciding not to have cancer. You see, I never really noticed how critical she is towards me on virtually everything I do. She's just more forward about my cooking. For example, when she walks into my home office, she always scrunches up her face in a really displeased way. I don't think she likes the interior, which I designed, because she wants nothing but white and gray in every room of the house. Whenever I try to do the laundry, she'll hear me open the washing machine and beeline over to backseat me through the whole process. This is coming from a woman who once ruined a $1,500 suit of mine because she thought bleach would be the perfect stain remover. By the way, when I was explaining an issue I had with my colleague to her, she took my colleague's side despite her being objectively in the wrong from an industry standpoint. My wife was adamant, though, I must have been the one to screw things up. I'm honestly just exhausted. The criticism of my cooking was the worst, yes, but it really just overshadowed everything else she always found fault with me on. I tried to have a conversation with her, and naturally she denied doing anything of the sort, denied ever being rude to me, and even denied retching at my food. She actually tried to gaslight me here. She kept asking me questions like, when did I do that? Tell me the date. Then she called me a hypocrite for being critical of her, hijacked the conversation, and eventually stonewalled me. I've come to realize that I don't really like my wife anymore. She's just a negative person. It makes me sad, but in the next few days, I'm going to ask her for a divorce. She's not going to like it, but I've come to realize that when she walks into a room I'm in, I get anxious, and what she's going to say to me. Thank you all for your comments. I also apologize if this was long-winded. My marriage is falling apart, and I'm not in the best headspace right now. Edit. Thanks for all the advice. I'm getting hate messages from that community again, and I really don't need this as I have to deal with child custody, divorce, assets, and telling my children that mommy and daddy are separating. It's a really stressful time, and they're mocking me in my DMs. I'm going to stop checking my inbox on this account, so I won't be reading any more of your comments. Thank you so much for all of the support. Let's go through this work of misogynistic fan fiction point by point. First, I love that he said it was this bizarre disconnect between her thinking my food was trash, not fit for consumption, or for a compost bin, but her demanding that I continue making it for her anyway. It seems to me that people called him out on the previous post for that being illogical, so he included that line so that we know, oh, it's not that it doesn't make sense, it's that she doesn't make sense because she's crazy. And then he was hesitant to post this, here's the sympathy, because people from a parody group have been DMing him, and he has no idea what he did to upset those people. Lying. Buddy, you lied. And people find that annoying. And then, last month he realized, actually, I've opened my eyes, she's super critical of me all the time. 2 weeks ago, they were walking outside, and she's like, whoa, what's wrong with your feet, pigeon-toed? Why don't you just try walking with your feet straight? His wife of 8 years noticed for the first time 2 weeks ago that he's pigeon-toed. Okay. And then he goes on his little rant. Yeah, my literal bone issue I'm just going to fix with blah, blah, blah. I guess if I had cancer, I would just fix it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, buddy, we see. She's crazy. And then we keep going. Every time she walks into the home office, she scrunches her face. She's disgusted by the interior design that he picked out, because if she had it her way, everything would be white and gray. Classic white-gray house. So she visibly looks the same as when she was about to throw up on his food when she walks into his office, but he's just now noticing, just now looking back. And then she wants to backseat do the laundry. Even though this is the woman who once ruined a $1,500 suit of mine because she thought bleach would be the perfect stain remover. What an idiot. What a stupid, idiot woman who is a stay-at-home mom, who does the laundry every day, who thinks that bleach is the right way to clean a suit. What an idiot. But what a high-value man to have a $1,500 suit. And then, when I was explaining an issue I had with my colleague, she took her side. So, another bad woman to include in the story. What makes wife bad? Wife takes bad woman's side when it was husband that was in the right. Of course. He's exhausted, blah, blah, blah. And then we've got the gaslighting talk, where clearly he looked up the definition of gaslighting and then repeated an example. She actually tried to gaslight me here. She kept asking me questions like, when did I do that? Tell me the date. And then he uses his fun other new word. And eventually, she stonewalled me. I've come to realize I don't like my wife anymore. She's just a negative person. It's made me sad, blah, blah, blah. But he realizes he has to file for divorce. He just has to. There's no time to talk to her. There's no time to try to work anything out. He has to file for divorce. He's got 2 children, but he just has to file for divorce because clearly his eyes have been opened after all that with the dinner, with the food, and he realizes, oh, she doesn't just do this to my cooking. She does this to me. And then hey, stop with the hate messages. I have to deal with child custody, divorce, assets, and telling my children that mommy and daddy are going to be separating. Wow, that is a lot on your on your plate, buddy. Maybe don't jump to divorce, right? Because that's a lot to do. That is really stressful. Maybe don't jump to divorce to where you're telling your children mommy and daddy are going to be separating. These posts with the month later update are always fake. It's so fake that we would escalate from some issues with the food to, we're divorcing. Nothing to be done. We must get divorced because actually she's evil. Doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on she's the worst. Just in case anybody took the woman's side in the first place, we really double, triple, quadruple down in the update. These updates are where our authors really hammer home their thesis statement. In our first post, we just get an example of, hey, there's something wrong, but what is it that's wrong about this scenario exactly? And then we extrapolate in the update that actually it's not an isolated incident. The conclusion is Women are bad. That update has 25,000 upvotes and 2 heart-hugging, holding awards. And the original post had 10,000 upvotes. Our 4th post is called, "Am I the a-hole for making my sister pay back my daughter? My 42 female daughter, Brooke, 16, has been reading since she was 5. Yeah, that's usually about the time that they start with the whole reading thing. She has always loved books and would spend her allowance that we gave her on the newest book in the latest series that she was reading. It's pretty safe to say that her book collection is huge and filled with all kinds of limited edition and special edition books. Recently, she used her allowance to get a new special edition version of a book she already had because she has been saving up for it and was very excited to get it when it came out. Well, my sister, Lindsay, 36, came over on Saturday with her daughter, Mariah, 13, to spend time with us because it's been a while since we got to hang out and we were just catching up. You don't need to explain why your sister and your niece are hanging out with you. Mariah started to head to Brooke's room, but I stopped her and told her that Brooke was out and she would be home in 20 minutes, so I suggested that she wait down here with us and tell me about how school was going. She talked for about 10 minutes before she said that she had to go to the bathroom. We have 2 bathrooms in our house, one upstairs and one downstairs, not including our en suite. Unfortunately, the downstairs one is having some issues, so I told her that it was okay to use the one upstairs for now until the one downstairs is fixed. She said okay and went upstairs. While I was talking to my sister, Brooke came home, said hi, and quickly went upstairs to change. She wasn't up there for 5 minutes when I heard a loud scream and quickly ran to check on my daughter. When I got to her room, my jaw dropped when I saw several of her books, including the new special edition, destroyed, with ripped pages everywhere and Brooke in tears at the destruction. Brooke is very non-controversial and hates arguing or fighting with people, so I stepped in for her. I told Mariah that she needs to apologize to Brooke, clean up the mess she made, and that she would no longer be welcomed in my house. I then turned to my sister and told her that she needed to reimburse Brooke for the books that her daughter destroyed. Lindsay argued with me that Mariah was just a kid and she didn't know what she was doing, but I told her that Mariah is old enough to know right from wrong and what she did was wrong. Lindsay argued back that if my daughter didn't want her books touched, that they shouldn't have been out. I lost my cool and told her that they weren't out. They were put away in her room where Mariah wasn't allowed to be without Brooke's permission. Lindsay refused to pay Brooke back and called me a greedy bitch before leaving with Mariah right behind her. I told my husband about this, and he was absolutely on our side, and he agreed that Lindsay needs to pay Brooke back for the books that she lost and can't replace, as they were special limited edition that she can't get back. This whole thing is really blown up, and my side of the family is telling me that I'm being too hard on Mariah, that she's just a kid, but I don't think I am. She destroyed my daughter's property, and she needs to know that her actions have consequences. So I'm asking here, was I the a-hole for demanding that my sister pay me back? Edit. I have seen some people ask, and I'm going to add a bit of information. Mariah has always had a fascination with Brooke's book collection. And last year, Brooke let her borrow 2 books because Mariah said that she wanted to start reading. And since Brooke loves reading so much, she thought it was a good idea to let Mariah borrow a couple. Well, 2 weeks passed, and the books came back damaged. Nothing like this, but definitely not in good condition anymore. So Brooke told her that she was not allowed to borrow her books anymore. Mariah was angry at that and yelled at my daughter. And since then, Brooke has kept Mariah away from her books. My husband and I think this is what caused Mariah to do what she did to Brooke's books. This story is kind of the poster child for unnecessary details. If this story were true, the only information we would need is, my niece destroyed my daughter's books, and my sister refuses to pay her back. Am I the asshole for insisting that my sister pay my daughter back? That's all the information we need. Maybe the ages too. We do not need all of this about the types of books and the allowance and how some of them are limited edition and special edition that she already owns. And remember, she started reading when she was 5. We have the detail that Mariah was already heading to Brooke's room, and then the mom said, no, please don't. My daughter's not home. Respect her room. Don't go to her room. And then Mariah talked for 10 more minutes and then said, I need to go to the bathroom. And of course, the ground floor bathroom is out of order. And so for the foreseeable future, Mariah can't use that downstairs bathroom, which is just a lot of detail that I don't necessarily need. But regardless, Mariah went to the bathroom upstairs. Like, you can feel the author of this post anticipating that people will be like, why didn't she just use the bathroom downstairs? And like in her mind, yeah, the kid's bedroom has to be upstairs, so blah, blah, blah. We have to. And then when the daughter gets home, it says not 5 minutes later, she screamed at the top of her lungs. It took you 5 minutes to go from downstairs to upstairs? What a slovenly moving 16-year-old we have here. But what really seals the deal is they are acting like they do not know these people. This is your sister and her daughter, and you are acting as if this behavior comes out of left field, before the edit, which helps it come less out of left field. But before the edit, it's like nothing about, yeah, my sister has a history of being awful and her daughter has a history of being awful. No. The sister, the daughter, they're over for dinner because it's been a while since they caught up. So yes, it totally makes sense. But to jump from my 13-year-old niece destroyed a couple of books to you are never welcome in my home again. This is a 13-year-old. This is a 13-year-old in theory. If she were real and you don't want anything to do with her now because she did one mean thing. But also then the idea that a mother of a 13-year-old would say, she doesn't understand, she's just a child. Nobody thinks that about their 13-year-old kids. Everyone who has a 13-year-old child knows that, yeah, they have the capacity to know right from wrong. It's just so ridiculous to me that anyone would be like, you're the asshole, because she's 13. Okay? And then they give all these justifications that are really not necessary, right? Like, I told my husband about this, and he was absolutely on our side, and he agreed that Lindsay needs to pay back Brooke for the books that she lost and can't replace, as they were special, limited edition that she can't get back. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the books are old, nonsense, tattered, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, the principle is the same. She doesn't have to pay her back more if the books are these super special value books. She should pay her back regardless of what the books are. And then the idea that the family, my side of the family, is telling me that I'm being too hard on Mariah, that she's just a kid, but I don't think I am. Really? Your whole family is like this about Mariah? Your whole side of the family can't possibly see your point of view on this? As to why this particular fan fiction was written, I believe it's a not like the other girls post. I believe that a teen probably wrote this who's really into books and thinks that she is special because of it. But this post has 21,000 upvotes, so it's hitting right on that righteous sense of justice that people love in these subs, where somebody is obviously in the right. If this scenario happened in real life, you wouldn't have to ask a soul if you were right. You would just know. Moving on. We have reached post number 5, the halfway point. So buckle in, friends, for our Thanksgiving special. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not allowed to bring her homemade food to Thanksgiving because her cooking is ruining the meal? Every year, our family does a big Thanksgiving dinner, and we all typically bring a dish or two. My sister, who's a lovely person in every other way, insists on cooking something homemade every time. The issue? She's not a great cook. And I don't mean just not great. I mean, she has somehow managed to turn classic dishes into borderline inedible creations. For context, last Thanksgiving, she showed up with her special recipe stuffing that was over-seasoned with random spices like cinnamon and cardamom. It was dry and the flavors were confusing and totally off for a stuffing. Okay, let's keep in mind this example of what the sister's typical bad food looks like. A little dry, maybe the wrong spices, but still in the shape and spirit of a stuffing. Only one person took a small bite and the rest went untouched. Another year, she brought a green bean casserole that had some kind of strange, chewy texture. She later admitted she used coconut milk and almond flour to experiment. Nobody wanted seconds of that either. Okay, maybe a gross green bean casserole, but still in the shape and spirit of a green bean casserole with some slight variations. This year, I'm hosting Thanksgiving. Since I'm responsible for putting it all together, I wanted to keep the menu consistent so that people could actually enjoy a cohesive meal. I thought I'd avoid drama by asking her to bring non-food items instead, like wine, soda, or even some flowers. Thank you for clarifying for us what non-food items could possibly be at a Thanksgiving dinner. I explained to her, very kindly I thought, that I just wanted to make things easy and streamlined, and I'd handle the main dishes, but she didn't take it well. She got offended and told me that I was being controlling and shutting her out of the family gathering. She then accused me of making her feel inadequate and said that Thanksgiving is about everyone contributing, not me deciding what's acceptable. I told her that everyone appreciates her effort, but that she could contribute in other ways and still be a part of it. She doubled down and said she's bringing her famous green bean casserole whether I like it or not. Okay, pausing here. That wouldn't be so bad, would it? Would it really be so bad if there is a little bit of a weird green bean casserole amongst all of OP's gorgeous curated gourmet dishes? I don't think so. But I feel like I'm just trying to keep the meal enjoyable and frankly edible. I don't think it's wrong to want guests to actually enjoy the food, especially since I'm putting in a lot of effort to host. Am I being unreasonable here? Am I the a-hole? Update. All right, well, things have escalated fast. Thanks to everyone who offered advice. I tried to compromise, but it's already turning into a whole thing, and Thanksgiving is still a few weeks away. After our last conversation, my sister was being pretty cagey about what she planned to make, so I reached out to my mom, hoping she could help smooth things over. Instead, she got defensive, saying I'm overthinking and that it's just one dish. If this story were true, I agree with the mom here. She is overthinking. It is just one dish. It's a bad green bean casserole. Everyone's had a bad green bean casserole that's participated in Thanksgivings before. I told her I wasn't sure it was just one dish anymore, especially after hearing about my sister's grocery haul, including canned oysters and edible glitter. We have jumped from a slightly off stuffing in a slightly off casserole to canned oysters and edible glitter. And I believe the reason we made that jump is because the original post was not clear enough that the sister was the asshole. Some people probably said, yeah, you're the asshole, just let her cook her one thing. So OP had to include all these crazy details to really hammer home, no, you guys, you don't understand the full scope of what she's trying to do. Then my mom let slip that my sister had been hard at work on some creative menu she's been planning as her Thanksgiving surprise. Apparently, she's been telling the family group chat, which I wasn't included in, by the way, that I'm being controlling and she wants to expand everyone's palate with something truly unique. To top it off, my cousin sent me a screenshot of the group chat where my sister said she's bringing not one, but 3 dishes to Thanksgiving now. She's calling them her Thanksgiving Trio experience, complete with their own place settings and little menu cards she's designing. I'm officially panicking because I have no idea what she's planning to serve, and from what I've heard, it's not remotely traditional. At this point, half the family thinks I'm overreacting. You see, they're divided. Of course, they're divided. The family is always split in half. While the other half is texting me with things like, is she really bringing glittered sweet potatoes? I feel stuck. If I try to control it anymore, I'm the bad guy. But if I don't, Thanksgiving might turn into a tasting event for my sister's avant-garde cooking. So yeah, Thanksgiving is weeks away and already become a family spectacle. I don't know whether to brace myself or just preemptively order pizza. So this original post has 14,000 upvotes. But there are updates. Update! Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not allowed to bring her homemade food to Thanksgiving because her cooking is ruining the meal? Alright, so Thanksgiving is now just a little over 2 weeks away, and somehow things have escalated even further than I thought possible. Of course they have. I thought maybe my sister's Thanksgiving Trio experience, what in the Linda Belcher, would be the peak drama. Well, it turns out I was wrong. Since the last update, my sister's become fully committed to making her dishes the main attraction. She's been dropping hints in the family group chat, which I'm still not included in, but shout out to my cousin for screenshots, about how this Thanksgiving will be one to remember and calling it her Thanksgiving debut. Pausing. Why is she not in the family group chat? That sounds cruel, and she's not given any reason why she's not in the family group chat. She's apparently been referring to herself as the Thanksgiving head chef and has hinted that she's bringing some kind of culinary surprise centerpiece that will transform the whole room. So many direct quotes from the sister. Also, the gender of OP is never clarified. It could theoretically be from a man's point of view or a woman's. From what I can piece together, she's planning a main statement dish in addition to her original 3 side dishes. I'm picturing something equally bizarre, but on a much larger scale, and honestly, I'm terrified. If her green bean casserole was already pushing it, I can't even imagine what she thinks is worthy of being the centerpiece. Then, to make things even weirder, my mom texted me privately and suggested that I step back this year and let my sister shine, since she's so excited about her contributions. My mom thinks if we just give her this moment, it'll make her happy and she'll get it out of her system. She even hinted that maybe I should focus on decorations and drinks instead of the main dishes, which feels like an attempt to turn hosting over to my sister without actually saying it. So now I'm left with a choice: go along with my mom's plan and let my sister essentially hijack Thanksgiving, or keep pushing back and risk a family showdown. I just wanted a nice Thanksgiving with dishes everyone would enjoy, but it seems like I'm either about to hand over the whole meal to her or prepare for some serious drama. Thanksgiving isn't even here yet, and it already feels like a circus. I'm half tempted to just sit back and see what chaos unfolds, but part of me is still worried about subjecting the whole family to whatever artistic statement she has planned. Notice that the pretext of asking if they are the asshole is dropped by the update. And that is consistent with these fake stories, as by the update we are no longer asking. We know for sure we are not the asshole. We're not asking anymore. We're just telling a fictional story. And this is our medium. That first update has 21,000 upvotes and 2 awards that are like 2 hands holding each other, like solidarity brother type of awards. Update! Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not allowed to bring her homemade food to Thanksgiving because her cooking is ruining the meal? Here we are. the day before Thanksgiving, and things have continued to spiral. I decided to let my sister move forward with her trio experience, since pushing back more would only make things worse. I thought we had a plan. She'd bring her dishes, and I'd make sure there were plenty of other options to keep the peace. This morning, my mom let me know that my sister is now adding a surprise dish to her contributions. She's been very secretive about what it is, which has everyone nervous about her past attempts. My mom thinks it's sweet and that my sister is putting in so much effort, but a few other family members are not as optimistic. Again, the family is divided. My cousin texted me privately asking if I had backup food ready, and my dad casually mentioned bringing extra rolls just in case. At this point, I've decided to stick with the plan and let her have her moment. I'll still have a few traditional dishes on hand so no one goes hungry. Tomorrow will probably be chaotic, but it should at least make for a memorable holiday. Wish me luck. I'll update after Thanksgiving if anything noteworthy happens. So this is just a little teaser, isn't it? Hey, tune in tomorrow for my big fake post. This post has 6,700 upvotes. Let's read the final update. Thanksgiving dinner is officially over, and I genuinely don't know where to start. I feel like I just lived through a fever dream of culinary chaos and family drama, and I need a moment to breathe before I can even process everything. My cousin and I are heading out for drinks to dissect all of it, because honestly, what just happened deserves its own Netflix special. I'm sure you believe that. You think you're a great writer, that's obvious. I'll post photos later when I get home, but for now, let me give you the rundown. Spoiler alert, those photos were never posted. So, my sister showed up earlier than expected, which I should have seen coming. She came in like a storm, carrying not just her 3 dishes, but also this giant platter wrapped in tinfoil, which she was clearly trying to make a big deal about. Wow, she's an excellent juggler, this circus clown sister of yours that can carry 3 dishes and a giant centerpiece. She immediately started rearranging the table, moving my dishes to the side so hers could take center stage. She even brought her own table runner and candles, saying something about setting the mood for a creative dining experience. Saying something about super long quote that my sister allegedly said. I decided not to fight her on it because at this point I just wanted to get through the night without a blow up. Her trio experience was, well, let's say it was everything I feared and more. She started with a glittery sweet potato mash that somehow managed to taste like a mix of sugar and sand. The glitter wasn't even edible glitter. It was craft glitter, which I didn't realize until one of the kids said, "This is crunchy," and I looked closer. Then there was the cranberry and oyster relish. Yes, oysters and cranberries. It looked like someone had spilled jam into the clam chowder, and the smell alone was enough to make me lose my appetite. Of course your appetite's lost. You've got this ridiculous... Why did you have an appetite in the first place? Finally, she brought a pumpkin curry casserole that had raisins in it for some reason, and this weird fishy smell that clung to the air for way too long. But the piece de resistance was her surprise centerpiece dish, which turned out to be a turkey gelatin mold. Yes! She took ground turkey, mixed it with some kind of broth and seasonings, and turned it into a wobbly, translucent mold shaped like a turkey. She even garnished it with parsley and cherry tomatoes to make it festive. I wish I were kidding. The entire table went silent when she unveiled it, except for my cousin, who immediately started coughing to cover up what I'm pretty sure was a laugh. This cousin, such a fun side character. Things hit their peak when my mom, who had been defending her this entire time, took one bite of the gelatin mold and just froze. Why would anyone think the gelatin mold with ground turkey would be anything other than disgusting? She didn't say anything, but you could see the regret on her face. My sister, noticing the lack of enthusiasm, decided to go on this long speech about how Thanksgiving food is too boring and how she's trying to challenge our palates. She even called my ham and mashed potatoes uninspired, which was rich, coming from someone serving glitter and sand potatoes. The breaking point came when my aunt, who's usually the peacekeeper, tried the gelatin mold and actually gagged. She tried to be polite about it, but my sister saw her reaction and completely lost it. She started yelling about how nobody in the family supports her and how we're all stuck in the past with our unoriginal food. She even accused me of sabotaging her dishes by not hyping them up enough to everyone. At this point, half the table was trying not to laugh, and the other half was just staring at their plates, probably wondering how we got here. Of course, we're divided as a family. My sister ended up storming out of the house, but not before saying something along the lines of, "You'll regret not appreciating my vision when I'm famous." She left most of her food behind, which my cousin and I quietly threw out after dinner. The rest of the night actually turned out pretty nice once the tension was gone. My dad's emergency ham was a lifesaver, and everyone agreed that next year we were going to a restaurant and just skipping Thanksgiving altogether. Meanwhile, she previously said that she called her ham, where is it? Ham? She even called my ham and mashed potatoes uninspired. So it was her ham, but then it became Dad's emergency ham. Okay. So now I'm sitting here wondering how this even became my life. I'll post photos later because you all need to see the turkey gelatin mold to believe it, but for now I'm off to grab a drink or three with my cousin to laugh/cry over everything that went down. This Thanksgiving was truly something else, and I don't know whether to feel relieved it's over or brace myself for whatever fresh chaos my sister has planned for next year. Stay tuned for photos. It's going to be worth it. Again, those photos were never posted. This final update has 69,000 votes and 101 popcorn awards. There's just so much going on, and we covered a lot of it as we went, and a lot of it is just stand out obvious in your face. Like, yeah, that's fake. Yeah, that's fake. Also, she's going to get drinks with her cousin, yet she's able to type up this whole dissertation. How? This is a huge, involved story. And while you're with your cousin, you are typing all this out. That seems a bit rude. Maybe wait till you get home. Then you're probably wondering why this thing about I'll post the pictures of the mold later. Why would this poster say they were going to post pictures that they don't have? And it's because it just makes it so people take this story seriously in the first 24 hours that it was posted. Because, oh, they said the photos are coming. You wouldn't believe this story for a second if they didn't say the photos were coming. But by saying the photos are coming, you've got people being like, well, I mean, they must have some type of photos. Or why would they say that? Maybe OP thought that they'd be able to, like, AI a convincing fake of this gelatin turkey or find some type of picture of a fake gelatin turkey, but I think that they knew they were never going to post any pictures. They were never going to even attempt to post pictures. They just wanted people to take this ridiculous story seriously. And we went from Sister's a bad cook in episode 1 to Sister thinks she's going to be famous for her truly bizarre concoctions. That's a leap. But of course, we end the story with everybody on OP's side. Everyone realizes, well, you were right. We thought it wouldn't be that bad, even though she kept telling us how awful it was getting. Also, every single one of these stories that I picked out have no other stories on OP's account. They are just throwaway accounts where the only thing that the account has ever posted are these fake stories. And that's further evidence that they're fake, because if a real person is posting this story, they might have evidence of having a real life. Not that the people who post them aren't real. These just aren't their stories. Our 5th story is called, Am I the A-hole for ignoring my wife for throwing away my late wife's videotapes? This is a whole genre in and of itself, late wife versus alive wife. I am writing this because I don't know what to do. I have a daughter with my late wife, and her name is Eleanor. Her birthday is coming up in 2 weeks, and she's turning 18. Background, me and my late wife, Chloe, had been dating since college. We got older, as people do, and ended up getting married. And after our wedding, she shared news to me that she was pregnant, and I was excited that we were expecting our first child. Since it was our first child, we bought a video camera and made little tapes and snippets of her whole pregnancy. Keep in mind, with the timeline of this was in 2007, and they're acting like a camera is a novel idea. Wholesome things, such as us just joking around or having lunch or talking to our unborn child through the camera. We made a promise to only show Eleanor the tapes until her 18th birthday. Fast forward 2 years after her birth, Chloe passed away due to a drunk driver crashing into her car as she was coming home from her mother's house. I was devastated of her passing and went into a deep depression and having to raise our 2-year-old daughter by myself. My friends tried to get me to go out again and start back dating, but every time I did, I felt like I was betraying her. Years later, when Eleanor was 13, I met Wendy. We met at a gathering for my sister's birthday, and we instantly hit it off. She didn't mind that I had a daughter because she had 2 kids herself and just went through a divorce. 2 years after we got married, now back to the present, Eleanor 18 birthday is coming up. 2 years after we got married, now back to the present. How did she go from 13 2 years later? Her 18th birthday is coming up. Okay. Eleanor 18th birthday's coming up, and I kept all the tapes for me to show her. Mind you, her mother died when she was just 2, so Eleanor doesn't remember her touch or her voice. I was excited to show her the tapes, and a week ago I was talking to Wendy about it, and I noticed her expression going from happy to looking a bit uncomfortable. Wendy would always get uncomfortable when I talk about my late wife. I don't say things like, why can't you be like Chloe, or Chloe was supposed to be my first love, but I talk about her in a way to give my daughter a mental picture of how her mother was like. Wendy has always talked to me about Chloe and how it made her sad that she can never be like her. Chloe was a model, then started working on her fashion career. And don't get me wrong, she was a really beautiful woman, while Wendy had 2 kids in college and not in the best shape due to her words. I love both women and how they are, and I've never had a preference, but I feel like Wendy's gaining some jealousy towards Chloe. I told Wendy that I love her just the way she was, and she broke down crying. The next day, after the incident, she came up to me and apologized for the way she acted last night. I told her it's okay, and it's good she felt comfortable to share her feelings, and I gave her a tight hug and a kiss on the forehead. She asked to see where the tapes were at, and I showed her the box of videotapes of my late wife in my closet. Things were going fine until yesterday morning. I was looking for the tapes because I wanted to put them in a prettier box for my daughter. When I went to go find them, the box wasn't in my closet. I looked everywhere to the point I walked downstairs to see my wife laying on the couch watching TV. I asked her about the box, and she told me she threw it away with a neutral expression. My heart dropped, and I asked her, what did she mean? And she told me that I talk about her too much and I need to move on with my life, so she threw them away as a head start. I was fuming with anger because not only she threw away what I had left of her, she threw away my daughter Big Surprise. We quickly got into an argument, and she noticed how angry I was, so she started apologizing. Got to the point, I started crying, locked myself in our bedroom. It's the morning and I'm writing this in my office, going through my computer, finding old files or any type of video of my late wife to give to my daughter, because sometimes my daughter still cries that she never got to meet her mother, and I really thought it would bring her closer to her. I've been ignoring my wife for the past day, and she's been texting me nonstop about how sorry she is, but I really just can't look at her right now. It's getting to the point our mutual friends are texting me to accept her apology and get over it since Chloe died 10 years ago. Wow, what callous friends. But I'm trying to ignore them all because they never had someone so close to them die. I am working on finding these files, and I'm starting to think I was overreacting. I don't know what to do and really need help. This was only posted how many days ago? 1 day ago this was posted. And it has 27,000 upvotes and 4 Solidarity Bro holding hand financial awards. So, your wife, who was of course killed by a drunk driver on her way home from visiting her parents because she's a #good woman, died. And you thought the best thing to do was stick to your original plan of not showing your daughter the tapes of her mother until she turns 18. This was your plan with Chloe when Chloe was alive, and you didn't think it needed to be adjusted because your daughter has no recollection of her mother? Oh my God. So this takes place in 2007, like I said, and we have this old school camera with physical tapes. It's not a digital camera in 2007. And of course, Chloe was a model, a fashion model that this guy met when she was going to college. Because she went to college like all good fashion models do and finished her degree, and then once she graduated from college, she could focus on her fashion model career. She's a fashion model, and the new wife is out of shape and just simply doesn't compare physically to the prime specimen that was Chloe. And then, the idea, if this story was true, which it is, 1,000% a fake story, I guarantee you. But if it were true, how on earth is there any question of who's the asshole? And do you really have all of these asshole friends who say, come on, guy, all she did was throw away every memory you ever had of your first wife. You've got to let it go. Chloe died 10 years ago. Let it go, brother. And the timeline issue where years later, when Eleanor was 13, I met Wendy, we gathered blah, 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 blah. 2 years later, we got married, now back to the present. All right, maybe they're just saying they were married. They got married after 2 years, so when Wendy was 15, and then, fast forward a couple of years to where, or not Wendy was 15, to where Eleanor was 15, and then fast forward a couple of years to when Eleanor's about to turn 18 and gets to have the first experience of knowing who her mother was. Our 6th story is this girl, 18 female, got pregnant, and she and her parents want me, 19 male, to step up and help her raise her baby. I am not the dad, but I want to go into the Corps. I told her no. I feel bad though. Basically, this girl I always had a crush on got knocked up by some random loser. And now, while she is pregnant, she has been wanting to date me. Her parents want me to step up and be a man, so they don't have to help her take care of the baby for like the next 18 years and have her stay with them. She is not a piece of cake, by the way. But the thing is, I am not the dad. She said she wants me to be her boyfriend and for me to get a job and a place for her and me to live and to help raise our kid. My dad told me to tell her to go F herself and not to put my dreams to the side, and that I am so young and just a kid myself, and to never, ever in my entire life get involved with her. He said her baby is not my responsibility, and he will be heartbroken if I voluntarily take on this burden. He fully supports me going into the Corps. I told him I do not want to get involved with her. Her dad told me I am not a real man. Update. I have been able to successfully block this girl and her parents on all social media platforms and their phone numbers and home phone, as well as from my cell phone. I have also gotten a temporary restraining order. There is a legal process you have to go through for a real permanent one, but I am working on it, against her and her parents. None of them are allowed to contact me by any means, including phone, email, mail, in person, or by someone else. If they do, the sheriff will have the deputies go to their house and bring them to the local jail. Ripley's Believe It or Not. I'm gonna have to go with or not on this one. More misogynistic fan fiction, a little incel rage bait, if you will. The girl in this story has never noticed OP before, even though he has had a crush on her for quite some time. Why? Because she's been focused on losers, of which OP is not one of them. He's not a loser. He wants to go into the Corps. But then, as soon as this girl gets knocked up by that loser guy, he's gone. He's out of the picture. We don't hear about him again in this story. He has no thoughts or feelings about his unborn child. Because this story isn't about how loser guys are bad. This story is about how women are bad, and the loser guy is just one of her bad choices. What's the first thing this pregnant teen does? Who does she run to? That guy that she's literally never noticed before. Now she wants him to be her boyfriend. Because why do women want boyfriends? Because they want money. In the world of incels, women look at men like walking wallets. And this girl sees 19-year-old guy with no mentioned job, money, savings, nothing. And she says, this is my money bank. Of course, OP's dad tells him, don't do this. This is a bad idea. As literally anybody else would tell OP if this situation were real, which it is not. How on earth would OP think that he could possibly be the a-hole? The answer is he wouldn't. He would say, this girl is crazy. She's psycho. He would never have to consult the internet to confirm that this is not a normal situation to be in. And then we've got the update where he assures us that he has blocked this girl and her family on everything, and that he has filed a temporary restraining order, and that if they try to contact him by any means, the sheriff will have his deputies go to their house and bring them to the local jail. What in the Wild Western? He had to provide this update with all of the measures he's taking to prevent this fictional woman from contacting him, because everyone in the comments was originally like, why would you entertain this? Why are you letting her get in touch with you? Blah, 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 blah. And so he had to go in and be like, no, guys, of course, I'm doing all this stuff, of course. But then it completely negates the idea that he thought he could potentially be the a-hole at all. You did not feel bad. That I feel bad, though, in the title. No, you didn't. You never did. First of all, this didn't happen. But if it did happen, you would be gleeful about it. This has 56,000 upvotes and 14 medals, awards that Redditors paid actual money to give to this person who posted this story. Money well spent. Our 8th allegedly fake Reddit post is, am I the a-hole for telling off a lady in a supermarket after she made the teenage cashier cry? So, this happened yesterday, and I'm still wondering if I overreacted. I, 35 female, was doing my usual weekly grocery shopping at a local supermarket. She didn't go to a foreign supermarket in another country, she went to a local one. It was a busy afternoon, and the line at the checkout was pretty long. I was waiting patiently when I noticed the woman in front of me, probably mid-50s, becoming increasingly agitated as the teenage cashier, who couldn't have been older than 17, was scanning her items. The cashier seemed a bit flustered. I could tell she was probably new, making a few mistakes here and there, but nothing serious. The older woman, however, was not having it. She started muttering under her breath, rolling her eyes, and tapping her foot. Finally, when the cashier accidentally scanned an item twice and needed to call for a supervisor to void it, the woman lost it. She started berating the poor girl, saying things like, "How hard can it be to do this job? You can't even do basic tasks. You're wasting people's time." She just kept going on, and the more she yelled, the more flustered the cashier got until she started tearing up. I stood there for a second, hoping the lady would cool down, but she didn't. The poor cashier was clearly trying her best to keep it together. That's when I stepped in. I said to her, "You don't have the right to treat someone like that. She's doing her best, and it's just a mistake. If you're so unhappy, maybe you should try working like her for a day and see how easy it is." The woman looked stunned and told me to mind my own business. I replied, "It is my business when you're making a kid cry over something as stupid as groceries." The cashier's supervisor arrived by then and stepped in to handle the situation, and the woman stormed off, muttering and cursing. After she left, the cashier thanked me with teary eyes, but a couple people behind me in line gave me looks like I was the one who had done something wrong. Now I'm second-guessing myself. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for telling her off? I'm just going to go ahead and read the updates for this one before we get into the story. Mini update / edit, am I the a-hole for telling off a lady in a supermarket after she made the teenage cashier cry? Oh my gosh, wow. I'm honestly overwhelmed by all the support and kind comments. Thank you all so much for reassuring me that I did the right thing. Reading through all the love for the cashier made me realize just how many people care about situations like this, and it has really restored my faith in humanity. So I've decided that tomorrow I'm going to go back to the store and see if she will be working. I want to let her know that she's got a whole community of love cheering her on, and even show her a few of the comments to lift her spirits. I'll update you all if I get the chance to chat with her. Once again, thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. And of course, she did get that opportunity to chat with her. Final update, am I the a-hole for telling off a lady in a supermarket after she made the teenage cashier cry? All right, I want to address something quickly before I start. A few people have commented saying they think this post is fake. And while I get that some things on here can sound too good to be true, I promise everything I've shared really happened. I do, however, understand the skepticism. Anyways, before I share the update, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who sent reassuring and kind words to both me and the cashier. It really made a difference for both of us, so thank you. With that being said, on to the update. I went back to the store yesterday, and luckily I caught the cashier on her break. I was a little nervous at first, approaching her outside the store, but she recognized me right away, smiled, and gestured for me to come over. I told her all about the love and support my post had received, and even showed her a few of the comments. She was genuinely touched and even got a little teary-eyed, but in a good way this time. We ended up chatting for a bit, and she told me that she's a college student working part-time. This is actually her first job. She said she's been feeling more confident since that day, and hearing that so many people had her back really made her feel supported. While we were chatting, her supervisor happened to walk by and recognize me. She stopped with a warm smile and thanked me for stepping in the other day. She said it's not often that customers speak up like that, and the team really appreciated it. She mentioned how younger employees can sometimes struggle in those tough moments, and having someone stand up for them meant a whole lot. It felt so good to hear that what I did didn't just help the cashier, but lifted the spirits of the whole team. It made me realize even more how important kindness can be in moments like these. I thanked her for her kind words, and after a while of the three of us chatting, she eventually left us as she had to go back to work. After our conversation, the cashier asked if she could befriend me on social media. And of course, I said yes. Now the two of us are connected, and it feels like we both got something positive out of the whole experience. And there you have it. This is most likely going to be my final update on this whole situation, and I'm glad that everyone ended up happy in the end. Well, everyone except for that rude lady, but let's focus on the positive. Before I go, even though I sound like I'm just repeating myself, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who took the time to comment, share kind words, and give encouragement. Your support honestly gave me the push to go back and talk to her, and it really did brighten her day. I couldn't have imagined the impact this post would have had, but I'm so grateful for it. With that, I say my goodbye, and once again, thank you. This post falls into the category I like to call Am I the Hero, though other people call it Am I the Angel. There's actually a subreddit called Am I the Angel that's dedicated to cross-posting stories like this, where OP is obviously in the right. Not only are they in the right, they went out of their way to do the right thing, and the point of the post is so that everybody can clap in the comments for how good of a person OP is. Like most allegedly fake posts, this post is really concerned with setting the scene. We have a lot of unnecessary detail because of it, and one of the details that stood out to me was I could tell she was probably new, making a few mistakes here and there, but nothing serious. What would a few mistakes here and there even look like when it comes to checking out one person's order? And then she says she makes the mistake of accidentally scanning something twice and needs the supervisor to come over to void it. So what kinds of mistakes could she have been making where the supervisor was not called over previous to the double scan incident? It would make much more sense if she was just generally slow at the job. But what other mistake can you make when scanning items on a conveyor belt besides scanning an item twice? Another feature of allegedly fake posts is big, direct quotes, long, direct quotes, because always OP has a perfect memory of exactly what was said and what went down. So the lady says, how hard can it be to do this job? You can't even do basic tasks. You're wasting people's time. And then OP says, you don't have the right to treat someone like that. She's doing her best, and it's just a mistake. If you are so unhappy, maybe you should try working like her for a day and see how easy it is. And then the lady says to mind her own business, and she says, it is my business when you're making a kid cry over something as stupid as groceries. So we've got these strong, long quotes from OP and these gotcha, exactly what you would want to say in a situation like this type of quotes. You might fantasize about saying the exact right thing after the fact, and you would fantasize these exact words that you would say, it is my business when you're making a kid cry over something as stupid as groceries. Then the supervisor comes over to handle the situation, and the woman stormed off, still muttering and cursing. Did she get her groceries? She just went through this whole ordeal with this slow-ass cashier. Did she get her groceries? Because it doesn't mention that she was even able to check out. Obviously, in situations like this, you would not be the a-hole, which is part of what makes stories like this so silly. The fact that OP is coming to Reddit in the first place and asking if they are the a-hole when they stepped up when nobody else would. So of course we include a few people in the line that looked at her like she was the one who did something wrong, because without these mysterious, stern, judgy people in the line, we wouldn't have any reason to bring this issue to Reddit. What really solidifies for me that this is a fake story is the mini update and the update. We get this mini update, which just serves to alert the people that new hot content might be dropping soon because she might be going back to the supermarket to talk to the girl. If this is your local supermarket, wouldn't you be going back anyway? Is it really such a novel thing to be returning to your local grocery store? But then in the final update, we start by acknowledging the haters who might think this is fake. And any story that includes a, hey, I know some of you guys might think this is fake, but it's not, to me that says this is fake. Because you don't even need to acknowledge the haters. But you feel the need to acknowledge them when you know you have a fake story on your hands. But disclaimer or no disclaimer, it's the reaction of everybody at the supermarket, all the employees, that feels so fake to me. You're telling me that if you wrote an Am I the A-hole post about this poor, pathetic cashier, where you call her the poor girl, the poor cashier, multiple times, she would be delighted when you showed her that post? She would enjoy that? She wouldn't think that was creepy or weird? That you went home after your interaction and wrote this long-ass story about what happened that day and then got all this validation for being a good person? Because I don't think that if somebody came to me, a stranger came to me with an Am I the A-hole post they wrote about helping me, that I would react all that positively. Also, this cashier, who was definitely under 17, is now a college student. Okay, you can mistake people's ages, I get that. But we couldn't stop at the endlessly grateful cashier. We had to go even further than that and have the boss say how grateful she is and how not a lot of people help other people these days, and you're just such a rare gem, lady. And not only did you boost the confidence of our little cashier here, you made the entire team feel better about the state of the world. You restored this team's faith in humanity. So really, I'm sure these people wish that they could give this lady a medal, but all they have is their gratitude. And finally, she lays it on thick with this conclusion that, wow, this experience really made me think. Before, I didn't really understand the importance of kindness, but after all of this happened, I think kindness is super important. The harm in just assuming that this story is true, despite the multiple signs that it probably isn't, is less clear-cut than with some of our other stories where the villain is meant to villainize a specific demographic of people. But we still have a villain in this story, and it's an older woman. And if you believe this story to be true, it might consciously or subconsciously contribute to your negative beliefs about older people or older women. It also infantilizes retail employees, makes them seem like helpless babies that can't stand up for themselves, and that they are just this big group of damsels in distress that are waiting for somebody to swoop in and be their hero. Baby. Finally, if you believe this story is true, it might lead you to think that certain weird, creepy, invasive behavior is normal, and that if you choose to act in the way that this lady did, that you are likely to be applauded and accepted for that behavior. But it is weird and creepy and invasive to write a Reddit post about a stranger and then bring that post to them to show them the comments that are supportive of them when they didn't ask for any of that, when they don't know you at all. That is strange behavior, and it is unlikely to be met with the type of warm reception that we get in this story. Our 9th story is, am I the a-hole for loudly confronting my coworker in front of everyone when she wrongfully believed I had groomed my wife? I am 30 years old and male. My wife, Jessica, is 22. My wife has a 7-year-old son, Max, whom she had when she was 15 years old. The father, who was her boyfriend in junior high school and is the same age as Jessica, actually left the state when he and his family learned that she was pregnant. Jessica has no idea where he is, and since her family is well off, she didn't really need or care for his support. I met Jessica when she was 20. We dated for a year and then got married when she was 21. I love Max and raise him as if he was my own son. Last month, Max came to my workplace with Jessica in the early afternoon to surprise me with a lunch outing. As they waited for me to finish up a meeting, the front desk secretary, Claire, chatted with Jessica. I wasn't there for the conversation, but Claire was stunned at how young Jessica looked, and Jessica said she was 22. Apparently, Claire did a bit of napkin math and came to the following conclusions. Jessica is 22 and I am 30. Max is 7. That means Jessica and I had Max when she was 15 and I was 23. Apparently, from that day on, Claire began gossiping about this. I had no idea what was going on, but I did notice that Claire abruptly changed her attitude towards me, glaring when she thought I wasn't looking or rolling her eyes when I talked to other people. Well, today at work, when I was in the bathroom washing my hands, I overheard Claire gossiping with a new hire about my underaged wife outside the door by the water cooler. I left the bathroom and then walked up behind Claire. She turned around and looked like a deer in headlights at me, and so I announced loudly, "Hi, Claire. You see, I'm not Max's biological father. In all of your gossiping to other people, you forgot to consider the most obvious possibility, which was that I am his stepfather. I will, by the way, be reporting you to HR for this." I headed directly to HR and explicitly told them what Claire had said, and the manager, a fellow gossip friend of Claire's, asked if I really wanted to escalate over something so small. I said yes. She then told me Claire is a single mother and relies on this job, and that I shouldn't have embarrassed her in front of the office like that. I insisted on filing a report. After calming down a bit, I feel kind of bad about what I did. Claire cried at her desk and left early. Was I an asshole to approach the issue this way? At the beginning of the post, we really set up OP as a good guy because he stepped up to raise this boy when the father of this child left the state as soon as he found out that Jessica was pregnant, and nobody really cares to even contact him about it because they're well off. They don't need him. Then we get a lot of unnecessary detail for why Claire met Jessica and Max in the first place, because they had to justify that. It wouldn't be a natural meeting, really. And then, and this is what makes the story so unbelievable to me, Claire goes on her gossip tour and nobody takes the opportunity to correct Claire about her assumptions about OP. And apparently Jessica and Max come into the office, so it's unreasonable to assume that nobody knows the true family dynamic that OP is in. And then the female HR representative, who is of course a part of the gossip team at this office, says, "Are you sure you want to do this to a poor single mother?" And OP is like, "Yeah, I am sure. Mess around and you're going to find out." But this woman clearly knew the true dynamic in this family, and she obviously also did not take it upon herself to correct Claire. There's been a lot of discussion about age gap relationships in recent years, and there's a lot of discussion about age gap relationships on Reddit. There's been some pushback to the age-old idea that as long as a relationship is legal, it's not creepy. I'm 30 years old. The OP in this story is also 30 years old, and he started dating his girlfriend when he was 28 and she was 20. It's not inherently creepy to be a 28-year-old dating a 20-year-old, but certainly when I was 28 and today, I can't imagine being attracted to an 18 to 22-year-old. I can't imagine being attracted to somebody who is in college, because I remember me in college and I was just a baby. I had so much learning and growing to do, and that I did do in between then and now. I am married, so maybe that clouds my perception. Maybe I would be thinking all of these 20-year-old, barely not teens were super hot if I wasn't married, but I kind of doubt it. But my opinion shouldn't matter. None of our opinions should matter. If you're happy in your relationship, why do you care what other people who don't know your business might say about the idea of a relationship with a similar age dynamic to yours? What do you even care if people who actually know you are judging your relationship? You're happy. That's all that matters, right? But to people like OP, they're not just satisfied with agreeing to disagree, with saying, hey, you think it's creepy, but I don't. They need to prove to people that it is definitively not creepy, that they're the ones being creepy if they think this age gap relationship is creepy. I think this story is a little gotcha fantasy. Like, what if you made all these assumptions about a couple and you thought they were creepy, but then it turned out through some circumstance and a huge misunderstanding that you were so wrong. You judged this man and his relationship. Meanwhile, he's not just a stepfather, he's the father that stepped up. And don't you feel stupid, deer in the headlights woman? Don't you feel stupid? This is a cautionary tale, a fake cautionary tale, but a cautionary tale to the people that, hey, if you make assumptions about guys and their super young-looking wives, you might end up fired. And think about that. This post has 33,000 upvotes. Our 10th and final story is called, Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister's family live in my house after they sold theirs for a dream vacation? So I, 32 male, own a modest 3-bedroom house that I've been paying off for the last 10 years. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. My sister, 29 female, and her husband, 31 male, are the typical free-spirited types. They've always talked about quitting the rat race, living life to the fullest, all that. Well, a few months ago, they finally did it. They sold their house during a booming market, thinking the profit would fund a year-long break to travel. They believed they could stretch the money by traveling cheaply, staying in hostels or Airbnbs, and getting by with occasional odd jobs. At first, they stayed in nicer places and ate out a lot, thinking they had plenty of cushion, but within 2 months, they were out of money. They underestimated how quickly expenses would pile up, especially with 2 young kids, 7 female, 5 male, to feed and care for. Now that their funds are drained, they've decided to stop full-time travel, but don't want to settle down yet. Instead, they asked to live with me rent-free for the next 10 months while they figure things out. They say they'll still try to take some occasional trips if they find super cheap deals, but for the most part, they want to stay at my house. I told them no. My house isn't big enough. I don't want the disruption, and I certainly don't think it's fair for them to live off of me because their plan failed. I offered to help them find an affordable rental or even cover part of their expenses for a couple of months so that they could get back on their feet, but that wasn't enough. My sister blew up at me, calling me selfish and accusing me of being jealous of their adventurous lifestyle. To make it worse, my parents are siding with her, saying that family should help family, that I'm being too rigid. The thing is, my parents live in a small apartment and can't take in my sister's family, which is probably why they're pushing it on me. They say I don't understand the value of experiences and that I should be more supportive. Some of our mutual friends are also saying that I should be more understanding, but I think it's completely unreasonable to expect me to house their whole family for nearly a year just because they didn't plan properly. Good, practical OP who has pulled himself up by his bootstraps and already is so much more financially successful than his own parents. And this woman, this free-spirited sister and her stupid husband want to mooch and leech off of OP. But a lot of the details in this story are less than plausible. They sold their home. They sold a home. If it's the crappiest, worst home ever, still they should be making like $60K on the house, and this is if it's the worst house ever. But they don't even say. OP does not even say. And by the way, this wasn't a great house, so it didn't go for much. He says they sold their home in the booming market, and then they were out of money in 2 months. They ran through what is probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in 2 months. And of course, to make matters worse, they have their kids, 7 and 5, and nobody is concerned about when the kids will be going to school. This post follows a lot of the conventions for fake Reddit posts. We've got OP, who is obviously by any account not the a-hole, not only because he has no obligation to house a family of 4 for 10 months, no matter if they're his family or not, but also because he went above and beyond for them. He wasn't just going to leave them on the street. He was offering to help pay their rent and to help them find a place to live. But somehow, even though OP is so reasonable, no one around him sees his point of view. The sister obviously calls him selfish and jealous. The parents say that he doesn't understand the value of experiences and that he should be more supportive. But the real kicker is even his friends think that he should be more understanding. Everybody in his life thinks that it's perfectly reasonable and that he's being a dick for not housing a family of 4 when he is a single adult male. There are a lot of posts in this genre. The genre being family member makes ridiculous request. Am I the a-hole for not giving in to that ridiculous request? And I think this genre is a reaction to the idea of familial obligation. Family member makes ridiculous request. Am I the a-hole for not fulfilling that request? Is the extreme version of this reaction to familial obligation. And these posts, I think, are mostly fake and are written so that there's no question of who the a-hole is. But there are a lot of posts where family member makes, in my opinion, reasonable request or asks for help, and am I the a-hole for not wanting to help them? And a lot of the reactions to those types of posts are still never the a-hole, because you have to do what's right by you. And on Reddit, the idea of doing things because it's a nice thing to do or because you love people in your family is kind of laughed at, mocked, because it's a transactional mindset. And if you are not getting something tangible out of this, then what's the point of babysitting your sister's kids? What's the point of doing anything for anyone else if you don't get anything in return? We did it! We made it through 10 allegedly, alleged by me, I'm doing the alleging, fake Reddit posts. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I'm going to be posting another video next week, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to subscribe if you feel like it. I hope you have a good week. And if you can't have a good week, I hope at least one good thing happens to you this week. All right. Have a good night. You've got this.